Well, we're off. So we've got a couple of reasonably settled days, I think. And our plan is to go to Colonsay. So we just left Ardfern, coming down Loch Craignish, about to get to the Doris Moor. The obvious route would be to go through the Corryvreckan, but we're 2 hours late. So it springs, the tide will be running pretty hard, and there's been some pretty strong southwesterlies yesterday and the day before. So we think there may be some swell, and the flood tide, so the west going tide, against a southwesterly swell, that's probably the flood tide reaching about 8.5 knots, is going to make it pretty messy in the Corryvreckan. So our plan is just to go up the Sound of Ling. We're going to have a look at the Firth of Lorne when we get to the top and see how much swell there is. And if it looks reasonable, we're going to head to Colonsay. So, and then on the way back, we'll come back on the ebb tide, and that's going to be a lot more straightforward, so we can come back through the Corryvreckan, and it should have been a bit more settled as well. So that's the plan. Let's see how it pans out.
So first go with my new button and my new microphone. So let's see how it goes. It's really quite breezy out here. So yeah, anyway, looking for whirlpools going through the Doris Moor. Can't see any. There might be some over there. I think Andrew's steering us through whirlpools on purpose. Look at these. Wow. So amazing how you get this like boiling water. I think we're being rocked about a bit.
That's us through the Doris Moor and into the Sound of Ling. We've got about 2 knots of tide with us at the moment. But as we were going through Doris Moor, there was some pretty impressive whirlpools. And we were doing about 10 knots, so probably about 5 knots of tide, which is probably the strongest I've ever seen the Doris Moor in what are essentially settled conditions. As we went past the Corryvreckan, we had the binoculars out and could see standing waves and a lot of white water, so definitely a good decision not to go through there today. But hopefully on the way back we'll be able to take the shorter route. Anyway, sails are up and doing about 6 knots. Fantastic.
Coming through the Sound of Ling now. Still really whirlpool-y. Really looks like it's boiling. Look at that. It's not as violent as the Doris Moor was though. It's a lot more gentle. Although, looking at the instruments, we've still got a good 4 knots of tide with us. Lots of whirlpools. There's Plaza Lighthouse.
We're about a mile away from Colonsay. Unfortunately, the wind died, so we ended up putting the engine on and motoring into the swell. About a metre and a half swell coming in from the west. So we're going to explore the various anchorages down Colonsay. We're starting off at Balnahard Bay, which is at the north end of Colonsay. And we're not enormously hopeful that it's going to be protected from this swell, but worst comes to worst, there are a couple of other options.
What a stunning spot. But I don't think we're going to stay the night because it's a little bit bobby. But look at that beach. And I want to sleep tonight, so I think we're going to go and find somewhere else. Plus the fact those waves are breaking on the beach and I can see me tipping the whole can see me tipping the whole dinghy upside down, getting the dog ashore.
Well, bizarrely, we're in this second anchorage and there's a swell coming from the northeast, which is making it just a bit unpleasant bobbing around. It's not too bad, but just occasionally we get caught by a wave and sends everything flying. So yeah, it's a lovely spot still, but I think we can do better. Are you waiting to go to the beach, Pippi?
So we're here on solid ground. We have finally settled on an anchorage, and yeah, we gave up on all the anchorages off Colonsay, and we are now on Oronsay, where we've been before, and it is beautiful, but not new. Listen here, Huffy Puffy dog, I don't need you.
Good morning from sunny Oronsay. We gave up with all the anchorages on Colonsay last night because of the swell and came into the anchorage on Oronsay at the boathouse. A beautiful morning this morning. The swells subsided quite a bit. We got a southeasterly, which is nice gentle breeze, but I'm not sure it's going to be here for long. Anyway, we're enjoying the sunshine. We've obviously been here before, if you've seen our other video. And it's absolutely delightful anchorage, surrounded by eider ducks. Sandy beaches, the dog loves it. Anyway, with a nice relaxed morning, we've done one of the jobs that we've been meaning to do for a while, which is to shift our rate compass. Originally, we had the compass in this forward locker, which used to be full of welly boots, but is now full of tools. And so by putting the tools away, we'd mess up the compass. So this locker slightly further aft is the one that we put the welly boots in. Obviously there's no metal objects in there now. So we've shifted the compass, as you can see, hidden in there. So we've shifted the compass into that locker and rerouted the cable back to where it was.
So now that we've moved the compass, we're now calibrating it. There's the screen. We're doing a turn round and trying to keep it at 3 degrees per second. We've got to go just over the whole rotation. Okay, so it's still there. Oh, it says calibration okay. Pretty much on top of each other now. I think that was a successful mission. Perfect. So here we are, anchored at Scalasaig, the main metropolis on the island of Colonsay. And we are right next to the ferry terminal, if you can see that. And on that side is the channel marker. It's a bit on the tight side. It is low tide, but there isn't a lot of room here. Anyway, we're only stopping for an hour or so because this is apparently the best stocked village shop on the west coast of Scotland. So we're going to go and check it out.
Compare it to our shop.
Got to compare it to our own shop. Anyway, and also there's a pub, so you might get a sneaky pint, or at the very least an ice cream. Dead slow, it says. Don't row too fast.
Can we even get up on that slip?
It looks a bit. The old waiting room is now visitor information. It says there's a smokery up there. A little bird on top of the war memorial, singing away. How's that for a petrol station? But I think it's run from the shop. So here is the main road, and here is the shop. What? Yeah, look, it even says. Has it got ice creams? The best wee shop in the Hebrides.
Yep.
Anyway, in we go. See what they've got. Post office that way. Little shop this way. But oh look, Black Forest Grotto, frozen one. Oh, the sign said artisan pies. Oh, do you fancy a pie? So we've just been into the best shop in the Hebrides and chatted to the guy in charge. He's a really interesting chap. Anyway, he was saying that the school kids, who we assumed went by ferry to Oban, actually go by plane. They get flown to school at the beginning of the week and then flown home at the end of the week. That's quite wacky.
They go to Oban.
And they go into Oban, yeah. So it's
Airfields this way.
Airfields this way, and the hotel with a cheeky pint. Yes. You've got bits of stick in your undercarriage. It's all right, sheeps. You were okay. So we're having a little explore up a little track in search of a smokery. And fingers crossed, somewhere up here should be some freshly smoked salmon. Here we go, Colonsay Smokery. Closed. Back to the pub then, I feel. Look at that. Heavily. On tap. You know what I'm having? So, very colonial style hotel. Really quite wacky. And dogs are allowed in the bar, so spot on.
So we're back in the little bay known as Bag Lon. I think that's how you pronounce it. And it's about a mile south of Scalasaig on Colonsay. Forecast is for south to southeasterly, and the little bay has a headland that sticks out that should be maybe just behind me that you can see, that will hopefully cut out the southerly swell. So that's the plan, but absolutely fantastic views across to Jura and up into the Firth of Lorne with Mull to the north of us.
Jane's out there, Jura behind, and Mull on that side in the distance. One unhappy puppy, that is.
You've been to the beach, puppy. Have you been to the beach? Just been for an absolutely delightful walk on the beach. The downside of being on the east coast of Highlands is that you don't get to see the sun setting into the sea. But we still get to see the sunset because here it is. Well, good morning from west coast of Scotland. We had another bumpy night, Colonsay, and the forecasted southerly winds didn't happen. We got easterly, southeasterly, so that meant that just all the anchorages, as per normal, were more or less exposed. So back to sleeping in the middle of the boat. Anyway, if it wasn't so beautiful, we wouldn't go there. But it is glorious, especially on this this lovely weather that we've been having. So we are legging it across towards Scarborough, the north end of Jura and Scarborough, because the tide times tell us that the end of the ebb is at 12:30. So that means that we should be able to sneak through the Corryvreckan at the end of the ebb and the start of the flood. So that's our plan. It's predicting that we're going to get there at 12:30 at the moment. So we'll just have to see. If we don't make it, then we can drop the hook in the Bay of Pigs and sit out the tide. Well, we're 2 miles out from the Corryvreckan. Wind's picked up nicely at about 10 knots. So we got all the sails out, which is great. And yeah, boat's going along very nicely. Had a check of the tides. So tide turns at Dover minus 1 hour, which is at 1:30. Dover's 1:30, so that's 12:30. So the flood starts at 12:30 today, and it's now 10 to 12. So yeah, we should be getting through just right at the end of the ebb, which is perfect.
We had to put the sails away because the wind direction was fluking around in between the hills. So we're back to motoring through. It's quite exciting. Bay of Pigs is over there. Scarborough's on that side. Can't see any whirlpools yet. Fingers crossed we've got the tide with us.
I think we're in the narrowest section, and you can see the eddies off on the two sides, the north side and the south side, so we're almost pretty much right in the middle. We're doing 10 knots over the land, 6 knots through the water, so there's 4 knots of tide within, I don't know, 20 minutes maybe, 20 minutes of slack water. So yeah, you wouldn't want to be, and we're after springs, so maybe a few days after springs. It was running at its strongest anyway when we left for Colonsay, so but this is very doable. End of the ebb, settled conditions, and God, it's magnificent. That's 12:30 and the tide is going slack just as we reach the Dorismore and around Craignish Point. So couldn't have timed it better. Anyway, hope you've enjoyed this latest episode, and don't forget to hit the like button, leave us a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. It'd be much appreciated. It helps us grow the channel and gets the content shared to more people. So thanks for watching. Join us for the next one. Have no idea where we'll be going, but it'll be somewhere on the west coast. Bye for now.